Yeah, thank you so much for coming, everyone. This is our last panel to wrap up our Latinx Heritage Month, which we've been celebrating all month long with this amazing panels. And thank you for joining us for the last one. Thank you to our panelists for coming and talking about all these wonderful organizations that are doing so much good this year. And we're here to learn about the organizations, learn about these wonderful leaders, and learn about what's coming up next as well. So we're gonna play a fun popcorn game to get us started. First, my name is Magdiela. I'm here with Rise Up Animation to moderate this lovely panel. And we're gonna popcorn it first to Stephanie Sosa. So she can tell us a little bit about her personal journey. Yeah, I'm gonna pick on you guys all panel, it's fine. You'll never know what is coming.
Did you know this?
I was like, I don't want to go first.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so personal journey?
Personal journey, yeah.
Okay, I'll try to give a succinct personal journey. So for me, like I said, I was from Texas, came to Los Angeles to work in media. My first job in media was working for American Latino TV. Which was profiling Latinos that are doing positive things in the world. So it was a really great opportunity to just profile a ton of people, meet a ton of people, and build up Latinx people. And so that was a great opportunity. Since then, I've been freelancing for a lot of different companies. I've done stuff for Warner Brothers, for Jim Henson Company. I've done a lot of live action. So did like music videos with Jennifer Lopez, did with Kobe Bryant, some stuff for ESPN. So just different fun activities. And I also volunteer abroad every year except for this year, obviously because of COVID. But I teach English and media classes abroad as well. So that's me in a nutshell.
That's so awesome that like before COVID especially, you went back out into different areas and was volunteering as well, because it's super important to do. Thank you so much for sharing. We're gonna popcorn it over to Monique now, just to tell us a little bit about her journey.
Yeah, so I'm gonna take it back to like art school. I went to School of Visual Arts here in New York for computer art animation. I graduated, took me about 4 years between graduation and actually getting my start at Blue Sky to break into the industry. I always make it a part just to say like I did a whole bunch of odd jobs during those 4 years, working retail. I worked Mercedes-Benz Fashion Week. I did some like random art festivals. There was a thing called street teams, if you remember, people actually being on the sidewalk, handing out merch and whatever, like anything I could do to meet people, because you never know who you can meet, right? I worked in a shoe store, all that stuff. And I ended up getting my opportunity at Blue Sky because I showed up to a recruiting event where they were looking for TDs, so essentially like more technical people. And I was just like, well, you're here, I'm here, here's my resume. And then they contacted me a few months later to be a PA on Ice Age 5. I did my stint there, as you all just heard, for like 3 years. Then I didn't mean to take as long of a break as I did, but I started last year in Netflix animation as a PA, and now I'm a story coordinator. So this has been quite a journey. I'm still very new. I feel like I'm still very new, but I'm happy. Huh?
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I think this week actually just made like a year working.
Okay, congrats.
Yeah, so I'm like, what a difference a year can make, right?
Yeah.
So it's dope. So I'm happy to be able to just share a bit of my experience and like still connect with everybody. And that's me in like a nutshell.
That's wonderful. I love that you touched upon that, you know, it does take time to get into the industry, and as long as you keep up that hustle, it'll happen. And it's just, you know, working those odd jobs, working sometimes volunteering for free at these lovely organizations that we're going to talk about might as well point that out. But no, that's a great point. We're going to take it over to Magdiela if she wants to take our last popcorn for this question and tell us a little bit about you and your journey.
Yeah, sure. So my journey started in live action. I started in post-production. I was working at Fox and FX when I started working a little bit on Archer as a studio side, and realized like, oh my God, wait, post-production, I can do animation through this. And that's sort of how I got into animation, because after that I just applied everywhere until I got to, I was applying for PAP, post coordinators for anything animation related, and I got, you know, Troll Hunters on DreamWorks, which was a dream to work on. But before that, you know, my journey is a little unique only because I was like a DACA before DACA was a thing. So there was a period of my life where I just couldn't legally work. So I was doing like event planning. I was doing like, you know, really hustling. Like I remember we had like, the hubby and I had like a business, and we had like a taco truck. We had, like, we did everything. So during those weird years, I learned a lot about event planning and stuff. And all that was through, the only thing I could afford at the time was community college. So I studied television production at Pasadena City College. And, it was super exciting to learn about production early on. I knew that I wanted to be in entertainment. My parents were very supportive as long as I wasn't an actor. And I was like, easy, I don't, as soon as I did the program, I realized that I wanted to produce. I just didn't realize that I could do cartoons until I was, many years later at FX and was like, cartoons. And, I've been working in animation since then. Now I'm working on the Casa Grandes as the production manager. And before, I had the honor to work on Marvel Studios' first animated series for the MCU, What If? And, through that journey, I've been very blessed to have met some amazing people and create an organization like LatinX Animation with so much support. And working on the Casa Grandes now is like literally a dream come true.
Awesome.
That's me.
That's awesome. Yeah, I like that all your diverse experiences supported your dream today, because a lot of people don't realize that, you can have experience that's outside of the industry and it's still directly applicable. It's just how you present yourself on your resume and in the interview. So it's an awesome point to have. Thank you so much for sharing your journeys, guys. We're going to pick on Monique this time. If you want to tell us about the inspiration of starting your organization and how the process was starting it, maintaining all that fun stuff. Let us into that little insider's eye.
Yeah, so for starters, I know sometimes it could be I guess I'll say interesting for people to imagine. I'm actually a very introverted person. So to have a panel series where I'm constantly outwards facing, it's like I basically know how to fake it to make it, but I'm definitely take a long sleep after a bunch of our panels. So the way that DiverseToons started was actually just on accident. I was helping out with the film festival as a program coordinator. I approached the founder of that film festival and I said, you have this digital internet film festival, but you don't have any animated content when there's so much animated content on the internet. So she basically was like, well, come on board and help me find that content. And then she was curating a panel for her festival and she was no longer able to moderate it. So I moderated it and I called on my coworkers at Blue Sky to be a part of it. And then just the audience feedback. So many people were like, well, we've never seen anything like this. I have nieces, nephews, cousins, blah, blah, blah. And when's the next one? So my childhood friend Jade and I, she's my publicist PR person. And she was like, well, you have to do this again. We have to figure this out. And literally within a month, we created the name. We partnered with SVA to be able to have our first official one. And it's been 2 years and we've been doing this. And it's been great that we've been able to leverage a lot of this virtual space that we're all in now to be able to reach and connect with more people. So it wasn't something I initiated or I set out I wanted to do this thing, but I am grateful that it fell in my lap and we've been able to make it work.
I love that. Yeah, happy accidents happen. And then I think happy accidents happen when we see that there's something that we could do to change. And if we take the initiative to do that, something great comes out of it, like DiverseToons. I love that. We're going to popcorn over to Magdiela. You want to tell us a little bit about your inspiration for starting LatinX in animation and our little beginning journey with that organization as well.
Yeah, so kind of picking up when I started at DreamWorks Animation, I was working at a show that was very, you have a Latino showrunner, Hispanic showrunner, you have, a Latino character, and yet around me, there was just so much lack of diversity in the room, in the production, and I don't think it was necessarily their fault. I just think they didn't know. Early on, I realized oh wait, recruiters and the people, they just don't know how to reach our audience, and I kind of just clicked where there's got to be more than me out there, I wanted to relate. I felt lonely and frustrated because I wanted to make jokes about puns that made sense in Spanish and I couldn't translate words and I was missing that a lot, I was connecting more to wanting to talk more Spanglish and it was weird. I felt alone. And at that point, I reached out to a few people at the studios see if they felt the same way. Some, people responded, including Brian Dimas, who is, co-founder and one of my good friends. And we sort of stayed in touch. I left the studio. This was back in 2016. I left the studio and then we started to try to have some meetings And we had a couple at the studio come visit, and then we realized more and more people were finding out, like, oh, there's this thing you guys are doing. Like, so Brian and I decided to open it up in 2018, like, you know, October. Actually, it'll be 2 years on the 18th of this month, which is crazy. And yeah, that's what happened. We were like, okay, well, obviously there's more people out there. Let's do it. And then Brian and I got together and we hosted like our first thing. We put it together. We put in together our little flyer, and we were like, all right, let's do this. Expecting like 25 people, 30 people to show up. And we looked, I mean, there was like more than 50, close to 60 people. And we were completely just like, whoa, this is crazy. And people were just so excited, you know? And I think that one important thing for us was like, oh my God, okay, the need is here. Okay, what can we do? And the responsibility, like, we didn't come up, our goal was not, like, we're in production, we want to produce. We never thought we were going to have and run a nonprofit, you know? But kind of like Monique said, sometimes things fall, and you have to, at least I'm in that belief that, you know, you have to do it at this point. Like, if not me, who? And if not now, when? You know? And it's been 2 years as well for us, and we're just so happy to be here.
That's so great. Yeah, congratulations on the 2 years coming up so soon. Can't believe time's flown by. But I know, it's so crazy. And then I do know that you guys stress importance as well. Like, membership is for everyone for Latinx in animation. It's not just Latinos. It's not just Latinx representing. And that's what I love about the community as well. Everyone can come.
Yeah, early on we realized, like, the minority, the diverse story in general is similar. Like, we all come from that background, whether, you know, is Latino, Asian. Like, honestly, we're so similar when we really talk about, you know, our immigrant story.
Awesome. Definitely a good message to have. We're going to come back around to Stephanie if she wants to take it away, tell us a little bit about her organization, how it started as well.
Sure. So Children's Media Association. So I didn't found Children's Media Association. It was actually founded 16 years ago by Olivia Beasley. And, you know, kind of what Magdiela was saying about finding people that you can connect with. It was actually women in children's media originally. So it was about women connecting within the industry. And then since then, it's just grown so much, and we have such diverse membership. We renamed it Children's Media Association. But what I did start was the Los Angeles chapter. CMA was originally just a New York chapter. And I asked Olivia, you know, when we were gonna have something out in LA, and she was like, you know, we don't have any plans right now. And so kind of like what they were saying just was like, well, let's just start it. So I just got the right people together, and we just started in LA. And it's been really exciting. That was 3 years ago. So it's been 3 years as a Los Angeles chapter. And now CMA is in New York, Los Angeles, and San Francisco. And as of this last May, they brought me up to be the president of all of CMA. So now we're taking on, thank you. So now we're taking on a lot of new, hopefully interesting initiatives and exciting things for our members.
Yay, congratulations. And would you be able to tell us a little bit about what Children's Media Association does, or some of the things they've done in the past?
Sure. So we're a nonprofit community. We connect the dots across all corners of the children's media industry. So we have animators, we have people from live action, we have people in book publishing, tech, education, researchers, consultants. I mean, we have everybody, any interest in children's media. So it's really an interesting group for cross-disciplinary, for creativity to really come alive, to meet people that connect in different fields. So it's really exciting for that. We do probably about 3 to 4 events right now, virtually monthly, as well as having little gatherings virtually where people can connect and socialize, especially right now when everybody's feeling a little, you know, distanced.
Mm-hmm. And how has that workflow, like, for your organization changed since this past year has been really different? Have you guys had to completely switch to virtual? Have you guys still had like socially distanced in-person things? What's been going on?
We're 100% virtual. And I think it's, you know, it's one of those things where you can kind of look at the gaps or the gains. Like, we loved our in-person, I loved our in-person events, but one of the things we've really gotten is we have members from all across the world now, because now everybody can tune in at different times. So that's been a huge opportunity for us to just be able to connect even more and have a lot of more talks about international production and what that looks like.
That's awesome. Yeah, I do love that this whole situation, like, despite the craziness, it has opened up the conversation of what can be virtual, how can we connect, or honestly, a lot of us are home. We don't have to spend time commuting. We have more time to connect with others. So it's been really nice to see that bridge kind of coming together. I'm going to take it back to Magdiela. If you want to tell us about LatinX and animation and their initiatives and the panels they've done this past year and how it's maybe changed since the beginning of 2020. Oh, I think you're muted, Magdiela.
Sorry, can you repeat that again? The last part, I cut off a little bit.
Oh, you're good. Just tell us about what you've been doing at LatinX and Animation ever since 2020 started, how it has changed as well.
Oh yeah, well with 2020, the most exciting thing that we're super excited about, we've been doing a lot of panels, which is great. I kind of second what Stephanie and and yourself about having the ability to do more of these Zooms where we can get to a broader audience. So it's been really cool to get to a broader audience, B, do a lot of things in Spanish. We've been doing a lot of panels like all in Spanish, and that's been super cool because the Latin American animation industry is popping, y'all. Like Mexico and Guadalajara and Venezuela and Colombia and Peru, like they're starting up their studios. Like it's really cool to kind of like, like again, se siente rico to talk your language a little bit. So that's been really cool. And one of the coolest things that we're working with, our parent organization, LFI, the Latino Film Institute, is we brought for time to the Youth Cinema Project, which is our sister organization. We brought an animation curriculum for the first time. So there is a school in Northern California right now, about 30 students that are learning animation in middle school. And I think it's so exciting for us because getting younger and younger audiences to realize that these are career paths, video games, gaming, just creating art and all these different fields is possible, and learning that at an early age and doing a lot of things for parents in Spanish, like to teach them what that means. And then put faces like Brian, like yourself, like myself out there, like Stephanie, Monique out there. So parents can see like, hey y'all, we have good jobs, we have fun, like we work in art, we make cartoons. And I think that's the exciting part that we've been doing this year. And yes, we've had to switch to Zoom. But in a way, I think it's been okay, to be honest. I can relate to Monique as being an introvert, like after these sessions, and people, like my close friends know, like I'm going to be sleeping for days and just like, I don't want to talk and like not shower. Because it's just so exhausting when, and as an introvert and like anxious human, that happens. So it's exciting to kind of have this new platform where we can do these type of things and kind of like relax, but at the same time continue to give what our audience is looking for.
Definitely, and I love the ease of accessibility these panels have become, especially for Rise Up, LatinX, and a lot of the other organizations where they're on YouTube. And I have been telling mentees, sit down, watch it with your parents if you're having struggles explaining this, because it is hard. You're having that generation gap.
My parents have no idea what I do still. Like, I think they kind of get it now maybe, but I think early on it was like, but you don't draw, and I was like, I don't need to draw, so it was really confusing. But now they understand a lot more. But yeah, just explaining what we do is a whole conversation.
Mm-hmm. Whole conversation. Knowledge is power. We're going to take it away to Monique if she wants to tell us a little bit about her perspectives on the question as well. Tell us something about how your organization has handled this past year, how it converted to being online maybe, or what you've done in the past year. Well, there you go.
So when my co-founder and I had like our year planning meeting, we did intend on trying to figure out how we can do like more like webinars and like skill set training stuff. So COVID kind of like made that have to happen a lot quicker. It was fine. We took that break and just figuring out which would be the best platform for us, doing our research, what could be good for us having like artist demos and engagement and interaction. And the pivot ended up not being as hard as it absolutely could have been. And I feel like we've definitely seen an increase in just engagement and following and support. And also just being able to connect with initiatives that are so similar to us. It seemed like it was a lot harder pre-COVID, but it has become just like easier at this moment. I feel like I hope I answered your question. But
no, you did, yeah. No, you definitely did. I like that you mentioned too that the organizations are coming together, and I feel like it's been so much easier to collaborate with each other as organizations, which is super key because now we can all kind of catch each other since we're all at home, sitting in front of our computers.
Yeah, and like we are, like my friends and I talk often that like to a certain extent we don't necessarily have to keep starting the same thing over and over. We can just like lateral connect and come together and do things. So it's been great to see that happening as well.
It's been great. And then I wanted to ask you as well, if you want to kick us off on the next question, can you tell us, our audience, about how they could potentially get involved in your organization? Do you guys have volunteer slots? Do you guys have any initiatives where people can help you at all?
Who's starting? Starting with me?
Oh, Monique, sorry. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so like we're always looking for like panelists, and we're always looking for artists to do demonstrations. For me, I know a lot of people already cater to 2D artists or people interested in animation and storyboard. So at DiverseToons, we had a 3D sculpting demo. So if anyone's interested in modeling, we haven't announced it yet, so you guys are going to get the exclusive, but next weekend we're doing a 3D lighting demo. So if anyone has an interest in that. So there's just so many career opportunities outside of actually being an animator or a storyboard artist. So if you do have an interest in some avenues like that, and you're like, hey, well, I would like, I mean, I don't know if we could, nothing's impossible, but if you had an interest in like motion capture or some sort of other type of design or something that could be a little bit more intricate or technical, we'll be more than happy to find the right appropriate people and present that type of workshop. Then also, if you are the person that would like to give the demo, you don't have to worry about anything. All you have to do is share your screen. We have everything. We got you. But yeah, we do have interns for DiverseToons that help us with video editing and social media. And we could always use more help in those capacities. And just spread the word. That's even simpler than everything. If you see our stuff come across your timeline and feed, just a repost and a reshare is greatly appreciated.
I love that you mentioned internships as well, because another great thing that I think a lot of people recommend is, volunteer with these organizations. This is how you get extra resume experience. And like you mentioned before, you never know who you're going to run into that will help you get that first job or will help you make the correct connection. And being involved in the community is also kind of nice because you're helping the community and the community is going to help you. And it's a win-win for everyone. Awesome. We're going to jump over to Stephanie, and if you want to let us know if there's any volunteer opportunities for our audience and see how they can get involved with your organization as well.
Sure. Yes, there definitely is. We have a lot of opportunities for people. One thing we've been doing is we have lists that we've either created or that have been passed along to us to actually just promote hiring diversity. And so we have a lot of lists that have different positions like animators, writers, and things like that that people can email me about to get on those lists that we share with different companies. Another opportunity is we have a diversity and inclusion committee that we recently started for CMA. And actually we have Jeanette Latta from LatinX and Animation who is on that, as well as Monique's partner, Jade Searberry, is also on our diversity and inclusion committee. So it's really cool cross, working together with organizations and support. But they're also putting together some initiatives that will start in 2021. So if anybody wants to support those initiatives, that would be a huge volunteer opportunity. Besides that, we always have opportunities for people to help with events or marketing or pretty much anything that you have an interest in, we can create a position for.
That's awesome. Yeah, you can fit in anywhere. And I love that you said you'll create a position because help is always welcome. Yeah. We're going to take it over to Magdiela if you want to let us know about ways we can get involved with your community.
Absolutely. I think, echoing on wonderful ladies, I think it's sort of all similar. If you're interested in being part of our community by, one of the things kind of circling back on the fact that we're now kind of united, it's one of the coolest thing is, for example, we are not going to focus on, portfolio reviews as much because instead we can support, Rise Up to provide mentors that can now, help with that, right? So those are the kind of stuff that we're so lucky to now have these conversations. So for us, specifically, working together has been amazing. And ways to get involved is your time is so important and so valuable, but it also means so much just to put yourself on screen. So if you are a creator or if you are a writer out there, if you have credits, like honestly, right now, personally, what our industry needs is sort of like that person that's going to give that other person that last pull. Because right away, the first thing we get, at least, I don't know what you guys with the studios, is like they're looking for new writers, giant list of writers, but then they want credit writers. Well, how are you going to get credit if they can't get into that show or that writer's room, right? So I think that if you are one of those creators, if you are one of those, you know, artists who has these opportunities to just put yourself on screen and talk about your personal experience, that alone is so valuable. There's so many organizations that you can work with. It doesn't have to be just with us, but you know, if depending on what, especially with our Latin culture is so diverse within our culture. We have, you know, Afro-Latino. So if you're more comfortable talking about that, you know, with like an organization like DiverseToons, that's the cool thing about sort of being together. So the biggest goal for us is to continue to listen to our audience about what are the best ways we can serve them, and creating specific panels that are focused more, again, echoing on what the ladies were saying, you know, a lot more to 3D lighting, or you know, like post-production, or accounting for animation. Like there's so many careers out there that aren't necessarily just being an animator or storyboard artist. And your time, again, as a creator is awesome, but if you want to donate some of your time as a volunteer, you can always check out our website and send us emails. We're constantly meeting. We have meetings every, you know, so often, to try to catch up and kind of put together our yearly schedule. And that's usually when we kind of have a better idea for volunteers. And also LFI, the Latino Film Institute, our parent company or parent, is constantly having other events that are live action as well. So if that's something you're into, you can also, we have everything at LFI.
Well, that's true. Like you said, just emailing. Sometimes, you know, you could just email, find out. It doesn't have to be a formal listing. You could just be like, hey, what do you need? This
Introduce yourself on like, what is it that what talent you want? Like, hey, I can draw, I can do video editing, like any of us, you know, and that's sort of the best way to help is like, how can you use your talent to move forward our community?
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I love that. We're going to kick it off to the next question. I'm going to go back to Stephanie. If you want to tell us, what are the plans for, you know, end of 2020, going into 2021? Do you have any cool things at Children's Media Association that you kind of drop and give us a hint of?
Yes, I do. I'm trying to think of what I can and can't say at this point.
Yeah, the big struggle.
Yeah, it is. I mean, we have some really great things coming up. We have something with Fred Rogers Company coming up. So that's going to be coming up really soon, which is going to be a really exciting opportunity to really meet and greet a lot of the people and find out a lot more about writing and consulting and that sort of thing. So that's a great opportunity that's coming up. We also have, we did a mentorship program this year, which we're going to do again, which is really exciting. Yeah, and one of the great things that I love about our mentorship program is it's not just for people just entering the industry. You can do it mid-level, or if you're trying to pivot at any time in your career, everybody can apply and be part of it. So that's something we're going to do again. And yeah, our CMA Connects and things like that, just opportunities for us to, you know, utilize each other as resources for us to be together socially and to, you know, build each other up, because that's what it's all about.
Yes, it is. Definitely building each other up. We're going to kick it off to Monique. If you want to let us know about the end of 2020 or any cool, fun 2021 plans, DiverseToons has come up.
Sure. Before I do answer your question, I realized I didn't really say what DiverseToons is if there's people who are not aware of us. So I just want to elaborate that, well, it started off as a traveling animation panel series highlighting Black people and people of color that work in the industry. One of the big things that we are aware of in the Black community is access to resources. So we wanted to help bridge that gap between people who are interested in working in animation and them having the resources so that they're able to do so. So for us, next week's event is going to be our last event of 2020. And we're going to take November and December, hopefully not too much longer after that, to see how we can continue helping to support our community in 2021. So I saw a lot of great virtual events this year. I've attended a bunch of festivals. I did Lightbox, which was like, I think the most insane thing. That was like nonstop for 3 days. So I'm inspired by a lot of that, and I want to see how we can implement that for DiverseToons in 2021.
So awesome. Yeah, like definitely finding any way to get those resources out there is so important. And that's honestly good that I love that you mentioned the organizations do take time to rest sometimes, because we can't help feed all this information to everyone if we don't know where to find it, or if we don't take time to rest ourselves, which is equally as important as well.
Now, my friends will tell you I'm so big on like self-care, like almost badly. I'm like, no, I'm going to treat myself. And I was like, I know I just treated myself. I'm going to treat myself again. So, yes, take that time. And that's just the only way we can show up, is really if we nurture ourselves, because we can't pour from an empty cup, you know?
Exactly. Yes, definitely. And honestly, like Parks and Rec Treat Yourself 2009 is always in the back of my head too. Completely understand. Gonna take it over to Magdiela if you want to let us know about how we're gonna wrap up 2020 and kick it off into 2021 as well.
Yeah, well, we're excited to wrap up 2020 with the Walt Disney Company, who we partner up to do a series of panels. We had our last panel, which was featuring some awesome Latinos, LatinX that are working currently in animation at the Walt Disney Studios, Blue Sky, Marvel Studios, Lucasfilms, etc. But so we have 2 more panels coming up. One in November, which we're be focusing on production management, and then we have another one in December, which will be focusing on storyboarding and story in general. So that's exciting, because kind of like Monique said, it's kind of nice to take a little break. So Disney has been super awesome in hosting us, and then after that, we are working together with our group to kind of the same thing. You know, we have been in Lord, like, what do we do? Are we going back to, is it COVID? Is it not? So that's put a little bit of a, you know, what do we do next year? But I think we're working closely with our partners and other organizations and other of our mentors and in our organization itself to sort of figure out what we're going to do. But another really cool thing that we're excited about to wrap up the year is that the Latino Film Institute is giving 5 $20,000 grants to Afro-Latinos right now to apply to create their own short, their own film, their own content, and they partner up with Netflix, and I think that is super cool. So there's I'm pretty confident that the opening is still out there, so please check it out, Latino Film Institute, and we are looking forward to the film festival with La Leaf in 2021 to bring a platform for more animated content. So if you're working on a short, you know, we have a platform for you in the summer, so we're excited about that as well.
Yeah, that's so exciting. Sounds like a lot of fun stuff coming up. We're going to pick on Bobby this time, if he wants to tell us a little bit about Rise Up Animation and just go over what we've been doing this past year, and maybe to tell us a little bit about if he has anything planned for 2021.
Hey, everybody. Hello. Thank you, guys. I didn't know this was coming, but yeah, and you know, I mean, I think our goals and ambitions align with Monique's, Magdiela, and Stephanie's 100%. I will say that our goal is to help BIPOC get in, more BIPOC aspiring artists to get into the animation industry, and how we can sort of provide those resources to sort of close the gap between, you know, like an aspiring artist from, I don't know, the Philippines or India or South America, and then connect them with, you know, our friends here in Hollywood, right? I mean, because Hollywood seems so far away. And yeah, I was in Seattle and it seemed so far away. But I think that's kind of where the initiative of the program started, of just kind of like, let's close the gap a little bit, of just kind of like, you know, animation schools are really expensive, and not everybody has the means or resources or funds to sort of connect with people that we get to connect with every single day. So let's kind of close that gap. Let's kind of use this time in COVID of just kind of like everyone's in virtual space, you know what I mean? Yeah, virtual space and kind of like let's connect people. And so that was our, you know, like our main goal. And that's where the portfolio feedback sessions kind of come from. That's where these panels come from. What we're doing tonight is exemplary of like what we're trying to do with Rise Up Animation, is like kind of connect, you know, everybody that has like an influence in the animation community and has a say, came up from kind of like different experiences and backgrounds and everything, and are making an influence on the animation industry now. And then reaching out to everybody that's on the chat now, these attendees, and going, hey, we hear you, and we see you, and if we can do it, you can do it. That's really it. So the big thing for Rise Up on 2020 was very simple. Panels and portfolio reviews. For 2021, we're trying to aim a little higher in terms of providing more opportunity for the Rise Up animation community to have the education that we think will help them get into a place where they can have a portfolio that can break into the industry. We're realistic about everything of like, yeah, I mean, we can get portfolio reviews, but a lot of times a lot of it is just the access to education. So with Rise Up, we're looking at working with various outlets of CTN, CGMA, Anim School, Animation Mentor, just kind of like seeing where can we provide education for free for Rise Up Animation like mentees that wouldn't necessarily have that opportunity in any other case. So that's what we're trying to do. Scholarships, workshops, and all of that kind of stuff. So, you know, and again, continuing with the mission of bringing Hollywood to everybody's like doorstep, right? Bringing LA to everybody's doorstep. You know, India, you know, Manila, you know, Zimbabwe, because we've had people tune in from all of those places. So let's try to make the world a little bit smaller education-wise. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's so exciting. I love that you spoke about, you know, knowing that our audience does get seen, and the audience should definitely recognize that, you know, if you send a message on social media, if you send an email, even if you don't get an immediate response, we do see it, we take that into consideration. We modify how we represent ourselves in these organizations, what we're planning, and that's definitely, like, I feel like how most organizations plan moving forward is based off the feedback they get.
Right.
It's super important.
Yeah.
And speaking of you go.
Sorry, really quick, sorry, Maria, and then kind of the panels too. I mean, like I really feel like it's important for people to see people that look like them that have succeeded in the industry. I mean, like with the Indian voices in animation. I mean, like I know they're not well represented a ton, you know, and that's the whole reason why we try to do that. So. But I've had portfolio reviews with many applicants in India, you know, so that made an effect on me. And like, I think it's important to hold these kind of panels that just kind of like speak out on just kind of like, hey, this is my journey, you know, and I think it really helps to see like people and, you know, others that kind of have the same background as you. And it's encouraging, like, in a time of hustle, because we all hustle, man. in the time of hustle, it's nice to see somebody kind of come from like a similar background from you and just kind of make it. And you're like, yeah, man, I can do it too.
Yeah, definitely. Seeing other people like rise up, pun intended, in their own journeys. And, you know, seeing how those journeys, you're sharing that similar journey and experience is super, super important. And, you know, for our audience, I wanted to open up the floor as well. Since we do see you, do you guys have any questions for our wonderful panelists, Bobby included as well? Let's talk about anything about the organizations you'd love to know more about, any more about these initiatives or how you can become a part of it. If you guys want to take it away, see if anyone's going to drop anything in the chat real quick. While they do that, though, I was going to ask if we want to start with Magdiela, how can we find your organization, or what kind of social media channels, websites, et cetera, anything you want to share? You're muted again as well.
Yeah, sure. You can find us on LatinXinanimation.org. You can also find us on our social media handles, which is at LatinX in Animation. I think Twitter is LatinX in Anim because it doesn't fit. But yeah, that's where you can find us. You can find me on Instagram or at Magdiela Duhamel, or on Twitter at IMLS, I believe. But yeah, just Google me, the name, it'll come up because there's not that many people with my name.
But yeah, please
feel free to reach out if you have questions.
Are you married to Josh Duhamel?
No, but my mother-in-law would swear that's our brother, like that's like our cousin or something. But no, I'm not. But that is the same last name.
Sure, that's the first time you heard that joke.
Hey, Bobby only has original jokes. I thought we all knew this.
Sorry, Magdiela. Sorry.
No, I love it. And then, of course, you can always find us at the latinofilm.org.
Awesome. We're going to kick it over to Monique if you want to tell us how we can stay connected with you and with DiverseToons, so what kind of social media channels you're on, websites, and all that fun stuff. I do know your second in command also dropped it in the chat as well, so if anyone wants also visual references in there as well.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she's gonna drop it again. She's super on it with that stuff. You can find, first off, DiverseToons.com, and we are DiverseToons. It's spelled properly on all social media channels. Our YouTube, we are populating with recap videos of our virtual series, and I'm taking an extremely long time to populate it with our in-person events that we've had in the past. If you want to follow and connect with me personally, I am at Simply Robotics. It's SIMPLYROBOTIX on all social media platforms as well. And I'm just gonna plug, I have the animation podcast where I like fangirl about stuff. And I have interviews with friends who are outside of the industry, and like I talk to people who work in the industry, and it's just a good time. So that's how you can find me.
Awesome. I love that. Yeah, I'm definitely going to check that out. I'd love to have a good time on a podcast. And then we're going to jump over to Stephanie, if you want to wrap us up here with how we can find you and find Children's Media Association, how we can get connected.
Sure. So Children's Media Association, we're on everything, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. So you can search us on there. You can find us at www.childrensmediaassociation.org. And if you want to contact me, you can contact me at Stephanie@childrensmediaassociation.org. It's my email. And also, I just wanted to also say, we have an event, actually, I should have said this earlier, this October 24th on a Saturday. It's the Storytime event. And if anybody wants to get in on that, you can join our mailing list, and we're sending out information. But the reason I bring that up is we have an online auction, and some of the prizes are getting consultants to look over your materials to help people with your pitches. And so there's a lot of really things that could really fast track your path.
Nice. Awesome.
Nice.
Yeah.
And I think we have a couple questions from the audience. I'm going to open this one up to everyone because it's kind of a general question, and I feel like the answer is going to be pretty much the same all around. So whoever wants to take it away, it's how do you typically contact industry creatives for channels? So whoever wants to like jump at it first or has a specific process they would like to speak of.
Well, we jump in people's DMs. A lot of talents, unfortunately, sometimes they're not the most responsive, you know, but without being annoying and aggressive, we are persistent. And if it's the Instagram, if it's Twitter, if it's, you know, their website through their contact form, that's one avenue. Also, we get a lot of recommendations and referrals from people. Like they would just say, oh, this person would be great. And then they would connect us. So it's a little bit of both.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for us, we mainly lean on our members to make our, or not our members, but our officers and stuff to make our connections.
Yeah, for us is the same. We sort of have like a generic template for us to reach out, like cold email versus a contact or a personal, you know, maybe a personal assistant. So it all depends. And then there's some people that if we know someone who knows someone, then we try to always kind of make them do the introduction so they know that we're just trying to work with them.
Sure.
That's great. Yeah, and like you said, like you're just as equally like reaching out to folks as well. So it's like nice when you both can come together at the same time. And then we do have one last question from the audience. So after this one, we're going to wrap it all up. It's what's the best work to display in your portfolio, especially as a character designer? So I don't know if you guys who work in the industry have any nice quick tips, portfolio tips for our folks. If Magdiela, if you want to take it away first.
Yeah, sure. I'm constantly looking at portfolios and you know, hiring people. And I think right now I would suggest to really be specific in your art. You know, I think that we're looking for something unique, but more than anything, we're looking for something like that we can just feel like, oh my God, this art, I can feel it. I know it sounds cheesy, but it's more because when you're drawing it, when you're doing it, it really is coming from from within. So right now, I would say really focus on trying to, you know, really be specific on your story. That is the perspective and diversity that we're looking for.
That's great. Monique or Stephanie, if you guys want to take it away with any portfolio advice.
I remember attending one recruiting event. I'm pretty sure it was Nickelodeon. And they mentioned basically not to put fan art in your portfolio because when it comes to shows, like the characters have specific, you know, they are like at this angle, like SpongeBob, for instance, like he's this specific way. So you doing your fan art is going to be off model compared to what their standard is. So you don't want someone looking at your work with that critical eye for it. So just like stay away from having fan art in your portfolio. That's about it.
A great point. And then Stephanie, if you have anything to add, doesn't have to be portfolio. I was thinking resume advice as well. You're good? Nope. So we're all good.
Sorry, real quick.
Oh, Bobby, go ahead.
I think we have August who had a question asked, and she's on the call. August, are you there?
I'm here. I didn't have a question. I just wanted to thank you all for what you are doing. It's so important. I am an African American. I've been in the industry for 32 years. I have been incredibly fortunate in my opportunities, including being on Monique's panel. Which was wonderful. But it is fantastic, the resources and time and effort that you're putting into this and the opportunities that you are opening up to young BIPOC people. And I just want to say how much I appreciate you all for it and am inspired by your efforts.
August, where are you coming from, and are you in the industry or like a student or? I'm
an animation supervisor at Sony, Sony PlayStation, basically Sony Interactive Entertainment America, and I've been in film, I've been in television, I have done multimedia. I started off as an illustrator, and I am trained in traditional animation, but I work in 3D primarily, and I'm also an artist.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, great. Yeah, thanks for calling in, August.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah. Awesome.
And that's a wrap. Thank you so much to our wonderful panelists. Like, nice round of applause. Thank you for sharing your journeys about your organizations. Everyone, make sure to go check out their organizations. They're all awesome, doing some awesome work. And
can I interject? I'm sorry, I know you're wrapping up. I wanted to interject.
You're good.
No,
definitely.
There was a comment made by Deborah of Black Women Animator about the fact that I didn't talk about or mention being Afro-Latina. And I just wanted to thank LatinX in Animation for inviting me to be a part of this, because I posted recently on social media that it's I don't lead with the fact that I am Afro-Latina, because it's not a perceived identity and it's a struggle. And also because I'm not fluent in Spanish, I don't want to have to prove that I'm a Latina. So I'm hoping that also going forward, that when we have Latinx Hispanic Heritage Month and celebrations, that they do become more inclusive of the Latin heritage. You know, we come in many shades and stuff like that, and we all should be represented in these conversations. I see you, Magdiela, and you're muted, but I feel you. I feel your energy. I feel your support.
I'm just like, yes, you speak the truth. It's true. Yeah. And I think that's what's exciting, that we get to connect and have these conversations, because it's true. And the not knowing Spanish is a thing that so many Latinos relate to. So that is already your Latina, because you relate to that. Like, that is the relation. That's so exciting. So yes, girl, preach.
Yeah, and it's this, like, what the panel's about is that cross-organization collaboration. And it's for saying, well, okay, Monique, come be a part of this thing, you know, and not excluding us from those moments. So, like, I really appreciate being included in this conversation in this moment.
Oh, no, I definitely love that you, like, brought that up, because I definitely, especially with the Spanish thing, even with people who are trying to speak Spanish, they're never good enough. They're sometimes seen as that way. And
we're not good enough.
Exactly.
Our Spanish will never be good enough for Latinos. Our English will never be good enough for Americans. So we just deal with it.
Yeah, and you know, I'm Mexican as well, and you know, if you're born here, you get to Mexico, sometimes you're not considered Mexican enough. You know, sometimes you're not considered American enough. It's a very fine line. But you're still here. You are one of us. You're one part of our community, and that's so important to stress. That, you know, as long as you're showing the love and the care to come and support us and be a part of us, that's all that matters. We don't have a requirement. We don't want anyone to come specifically, oh, because of you're this background, because you're this background. We want you here because you're you, and that's all that matters at the end of the day. Yay. Good, loving. I love that. That was a great way to wrap that up.
That was a good way.
Yeah, we're all gonna cry.
It was so honored to be here with all you ladies. I just, like, keep working hard. I know that we can talk for hours about the journey and how hard it is to be a woman in the industry. That's a whole different conversation. But honestly, like, it's such an honor, and thank you guys for inviting us.
Oh, thank you for joining us on this panel. And to our audience, thank you for joining us and learning a little bit of our organizations and about Rise Up. Make sure to tune in on Saturday. We have a wonderful conversation with Disney Talent Development alumni, starting bright and early at 11 a.m. with Bobby and Trent taking the lead on that one. But thank you so much to our wonderful panelists for wrapping up our wonderful Latinx Heritage Month. Give a big round of applause for everyone for the whole month. Great way to celebrate, and we're going to keep kicking butt moving forward.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you, guys.